Imagine a fox, his belly rumbling with hunger, wandering through the lush green forest. As the sun's rays pierced through the leafy canopy, a glint caught the fox's attention. There, not too far off, was a vine, heavy with ripe, juicy grapes. The sight of such a treat made the fox's mouth water. Oh, how he longed to taste them. The grapes were suspended high above the fox's head, teasing him with their juicy allure. He jumped, he stretched, he even tried to shimmy up the vine, but alas, the grapes danced just out of reach. Each attempt seemed more futile than the last. All the fox wanted was to taste the sweet nectar of these tantalizing fruits. But despite his longing, the tantalizing grapes remained just out of the fox's reach. The fox, filled with frustration and disappointment, was left contemplating his next move. This was the beginning of a tale that would reveal a timeless truth about desire and disappointment. Our determined fox, not one to give up easily, devised several strategies to reach his prize. In the heart of the forest, our fox found himself in a predicament. High above his head, a bounty of ripe, juicy grapes hung tantalizingly out of reach. But the fox was not just any ordinary fox. He was a creature of tenacity and resolve, and he was not about to let a mere height difference deter him from his goal. First, he tried jumping. Gathering his strength, he leapt into the air, reaching out with his paws, hoping to snag a grape or two. But despite his best efforts, he fell short, landing back on the forest floor with a soft thud. Undeterred, he tried again and again and again. Each leap was a testament to his determination, a symbol of his desire. Yet, each time he returned to the earth empty-pawed, the grapes continued to sway gently in the breeze, a frustrating distance away. Next, the fox decided to stretch. Maybe, just maybe, if he stood on his hind legs and reached as high as he could, he'd be able to grasp the grapes. He strained, his muscles trembling with exertion, but the grapes remained just beyond his touch. Finally, in a last-ditch effort, the fox tried climbing the vine. He dug his claws into the bark, pulling himself upwards, but the vine was too fragile to hold his weight, and he slid back down, landing in a heap on the ground. Through it all, the fox's spirit never wavered. He continued to try, his determination unwavering, his desire unquenchable. He refused to admit defeat, refused to accept that he might not be able to reach his prize. Yet, no matter how hard he tried, the grapes remained a frustrating distance away. The fox's story serves as a testament to the power of persistence, but also a poignant reminder of the bitter taste of unfulfilled desire. Exhausted and disappointed, the fox finally admitted defeat. His paws ached from the jumping and stretching, and his spirit was bruised just as much as his pride. He looked up one last time at the tantalizing, juicy grapes swaying gently in the breeze, but they might as well have been a world away. A bitter taste of frustration lingered in his mouth, and with a sigh he muttered to himself, "Those grapes are probably sour anyway. They're not worth all this effort." He tried to convince himself that he didn't really want them, that their sweetness was probably overrated. This was his way of soothing his disappointment, of trying to mend his bruised ego. It was easier to dismiss the grapes as undesirable than to accept his inability to reach them. And with that, he walked away, the taste of the grapes he so desired still a mystery. As the fox left the vine behind, a sense of longing lingered. Even as he moved on, the fox couldn't help but cast glances back at the tantalizing grapes. He tried to dismiss his desire, to convince himself he didn't want them after all. They were probably sour, he told himself, not worth all that effort. Yet his mouth still watered at the thought of them, sweet and juicy. Try as he might, the fox couldn't shake off that deep-seated yearning. The image of those ripe, succulent grapes was seared into his mind, an unattainable treasure just out of reach. It was a longing that stayed with him, a constant reminder of what he couldn't have. And isn't that just like us? We downplay the value of what we can't obtain, dismissing it as undesirable or unimportant. Just like the fox, we often belittle what we cannot have, a sour consolation for our unmet desires. In the heart of the forest, our fox taught us a valuable lesson. His tale reminds us how often we belittle what we can't possess or accomplish. We do this to soothe our pride, to ease the sting of failure. But let's not forget, this is merely a self-deception, a way to protect our ego. The grapes may be unreachable, but their allure remains. Remember, it's easy to call the grapes sour when they hang just out of reach.